Hey everyone, happy weekend. Welcome into our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by Dutchie. I am your host, Shad Dales. Today we're going to break down a big story that came out of California this week where Governor Gavin Newsom just signed a bill that pulls intoxicating hemp products into the same regulated framework as cannabis. This is interesting and building momentum. So on paper, this looks like another state-level bill, but in reality, it could reshape the relationship between hemp, THC, and marijuana, not just in California, but across the entire country. What do I mean by that? Well, let's get into it in our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by Dutchie. All right, here's the headline. California has decided that hemp and marijuana shouldn't live in separate worlds anymore. With Assembly Bill 8, the state is saying that intoxicating hemp products, whether that's Delta-8, THC-O, or other lab-derived cannabinoids, can no longer be sold through gas stations, convenience stores, or online shops outside the regulated cannabis market. And it's about time. Instead, they'll now fall under the same umbrella as marijuana. So that means the same testing requirements, the same labeling standards, the same age limits, and crucially, the same dispensary system for sales. Again, this is good. For consumers now, this closes the loophole that's been allowing products with intoxicating effects to slip around the rules. And for cannabis operators, this removes a huge source of frustration competing with unlicensed businesses that have been selling THC products really without playing by the same rules, as we've been saying a lot over these last few months. Case in point, Texas. So why does this matter? Well, this move has been, let's face it, a long time coming. California's legal cannabis market, as we know, has been struggling. Licensed businesses have faced heavy taxes, strict compliance, and tight margins. But meanwhile, hemp operators have been flooding the market with THC-like products, often with little oversight. So think about that. One side has to pay tens of thousands of dollars just to keep a license. Then on the other side, you pump out gummies in a warehouse and sell them at the local corner store smoke shop. So that's not sustainable, and let's face it, it's not safe. This is stuff that we've been communicating. So Governor Newsom, he called it out clearly. These loopholes were being abused. They put consumers at risk. So this bill is really California saying enough is enough. So based off this, let's now talk about the winners and the losers. One, consumers. This is a win because if you're buying something in California, you'll know it's been tested. You'll know the THC content is indeed accurate. You'll know it's not being made in some back room with no oversight. Also, licensed dispensaries. They win too. For years, they've been bleeding business to gas stations and vape shops selling hemp products that weren't taxed or tested. Now, if a product can get you high, it needs to go through the regulated system. So this indeed levels the playing field. How about hemp businesses? This is where the pain lands. If you've built a company on those gray area loopholes, you're facing a choice. Either move into the regulated market or watch your business shrink. So let's face it, it's not going to be an easy transition for them, and for many, it may not even be possible. But I'll say this, I don't feel bad for these actors in the space. Selling intoxicating products without age checks or proper testing, that's not innovation, it's cutting the corners. And I think a lot of you will probably agree with me on this. All right, now for a quick break on our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 for a message from our good friends over at Morgan & Morgan. Hey everyone, there's a reason smart investors celebrate when their portfolio jumps 40% in a year, just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Think about it. When you're investing, you want the right team in your corner. The same is true if you're injured in dealing with an insurance company. And that is where Morgan & Morgan comes into the equation. Why? Well, they've got more than 1,000 attorneys in over 100 offices nationwide, and they've been fighting for people for over 35 years. And their track record is hard to ignore. Let me explain a little bit further. Case in point, in Florida, a client was offered $350,000, but walked away with $12 million. In Pennsylvania, another client, they turned $650,000 offer into $26 million. That's a 40x return. Another in Pennsylvania, where a client got $29 million after the insurer only offered $500,000. And in Florida, someone received $20 million when the last offer on the table was literally zero. Think about that. So in total, Morgan & Morgan, they've recovered more than $25 billion for over 500,000 clients. That's like compounding wins in your portfolio every single year. So really, when you hire him, it's like bringing in a legal army that has your back. Because if you're injured due to someone else's negligence, you deserve to be paid. And let's be honest, not all law firms are created equal. Choosing the wrong one can cost you, just like choosing the wrong stock. But with Morgan & Morgan, their fee is free unless they win. You can start your claim right now by clicking the link in the description below or by scanning this QR code on your screen with your phone. At the end of the day, if you want what you deserve, make sure you go in with the right team by contacting Morgan & Morgan today. Now, let's get back to the rest of our video. All right, so now let's zoom out. And why does California matter so much here? Well, it's the biggest market right now. And really, when California makes a move, the rest of the country will indeed pay attention. So this isn't just another experiment. California is still the largest cannabis market in the world. Its policies often set the standard. But here's where things get interesting when you look at, say, for example, New York. They had a rocky rollout, but New York is finally turning things around. The state is projected to do over $1.5 billion in regulated cannabis revenue this year. Stores are opening, the legal market is expanding, and momentum is building. So in a way, California is saying, why not us? If New York can start to stabilize and grow, then why shouldn't California clean up its own mess as well? So this new hemp integration bill is part of California trying to get its house in order and really strengthen the integrity of its legal market. At least we hope so. Other states as well, from Florida to Texas to Kentucky, they're wrestling with their own hemp controversies. Some have tried bans, others added labeling requirements or age restrictions. But nobody's gone as far as California in saying if it's intoxicating, it belongs inside the cannabis system. And here's my own personal take on all this. I think this is going to be the start of a broader movement. If we're ever going to have a consistent federal framework, regulators, let's face it, are going to have to stop pretending hemp and marijuana are totally separate categories. California and New York, they're both showing that it can be done, just in different ways. So look to see momentum build like this in other states. You got to start somewhere, and it looks like California could be doing it. Now, one thing that's clear, don't expect overnight changes. The major parts of this law, they won't take effect until January of 2028. That's when the compliance requirements for consumable hemp products officially kick in. So again, mark that in your calendar, January of 2028. But make no mistake, enforcement starts before then. What we're hearing, the law will give the state and local agencies more authority to inspect products, seize items that don't meet the rules, and go after unlicensed sellers. This is good. So that means if you're running a hemp business in California right now, you can't wait until 2028 to get compliant. Regulators are going to be knocking at the door sooner rather than later. So this is all good moves, and this is where I land. This isn't just about cannabis policy. It's a market correction where California is saying, look, if you're selling products that get people high, you're in the cannabis industry. Period. It's about consumer trust. People deserve to know what they're putting into their bodies, and that means testing, that means labeling, and most importantly, it means accountability. And really, it's about fair competition. Cannabis operators have been drowning in red tape, and it makes zero sense to let hemp operators skirt those rules. I think we look back at this years from now and say, what? How did this happen? And really, if I'm being blunt, it needs to happen. The unregulated hemp market has gotten way out of control, but by pulling everything under one roof, California is forcing now clarity. And clarity long-term is exactly what California needs right now. So that's the breakdown. California has indeed taken a bold step, and I think it could spark a domino effect across the country. So keep your eyes on states like Texas and Florida to see if they adopt the same model. We'll keep tracking how this rolls out, how states like New York continue to build momentum, and whether the federal government eventually follows California's lead. I find it interesting that Gavin Newsom is starting to pick up more attention around this whole cannabis narrative. And does it force a hand for President Trump to start making some announcement himself? Well, we're going to find out one way or the other. All right, so that's it for our latest episode of TDR Cannabis in 5, presented by Dutchie. Dutchie, the leading platform powering cannabis retail. From online ordering to point of sale to compliance, Dutchie helps dispensaries run smarter, safer, and smoother. Check them out at business.dutchie.com. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications, and we'll see you in our next TDR Cannabis in 5, presented by Dutchie. So long, everyone.